The following program is to provide entertainment and information. It is not considered to be any legal or investment advice. Good morning, appraisers. Let's talk some real estate. You're listening to the Voice of Appraisal, the #1 appraisal podcast in America that brings you the latest news and information from the front lines of the real estate market. Anything from market conditions, appraisal regulations, cryptocurrencies, big bank news. Folks, you have a question, we have all of your answers. We are the one-stop source for all of your real estate appraisal information needs. If you want to be in the know, you have definitely tuned in to the right show. I'm your host, Phil Crawford. Happy to have all of you here with us today. We're back after a very long hiatus. Kevin, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
It has been a while walking through the hall. I thought that was great because the people out there in the podcast world, I wish you could have seen this. We're walking past each other in the hall.
Yes.
Phil goes, "Hey, you ready to do a show today?" And I'm like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, exactly. No, we had a very busy June. Lots of things going on. First of all, baseball season came to an end for us, so that was a good thing. And I went out and had to recharge the batteries, visit friends and family in the great state of California. Little rumbling, little moving, little shaking out there as time goes on. But a lot of things happened in the month of June that happened behind the scenes, and I want all of you to kind of get updated as to what was going on. So the first thing that happened is I ended up going over to the OCAP Summer Seminar, and we had a 1-hour blockchain presentation there that we gave to the OCAP members. Now, it's very important. Blockchain, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, you now have heard that Facebook is coming out with their own cryptocurrency called Libra. That's got a lot of lawmakers freaking out. Okay, now the thing about the Facebook cryptocurrency is I don't think it's a true crypto. I don't think it's the same protocols that you would get from, say, a Bitcoin or a Litecoin. But one thing is for certain, cryptocurrency is becoming more and more commonplace. It has now made its way to the front page of so many different avenues, especially when it comes to real estate. You're going to have to understand how all of this works, how cryptos work, how blockchain works. You have to have a fundamental understanding as to how it all breaks down, and we're going to be able to provide that to you as time goes on. As you can see here, when Facebook came out with their Libra, see, I gave the presentation at OCAP, and I think Bitcoin was at $8,500 a Bitcoin, and Litecoin was hovering somewhere about $125. Gold at the time was at about $13.50. The day after I gave the presentation at OCAP, Bitcoin jumps. Bitcoin acted as it needed to act. It acted like gold 2.0. Gold jumps too. Gold went to like $14.25. Silver ripped through $15 an ounce. There is a small, what I call an Armageddon box. And if you take one of the courses that we're going to have available to you, you're going to understand the Armageddon box. You're going to understand how the cryptos work, how they have a direct connection with all things, and you're going to be very, very soon analyzing sales contracts in Bitcoin and other types of cryptocurrencies. And at the same time, there's going to be a lot of regulators out there looking at these transactions, seeing how they all break down. You have to have it. If you're going to be a real estate appraiser in the 21st century, you have to have the knowledge of how cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology works, the understanding of it, where it comes from, and how it works. So we'll be breaking that down throughout the course of this year. Lori and I, this month, will be writing a 3-hour continuing education course called The Appraiser and the Blockchain. It'll be available for all FMA appraisers. By the way, for FindMyAppraiser.com representative appraisers, Lori and I will be writing 14 hours of continuing education for you every single year. Your education's taken care of with us. It's all cutting edge. Don't worry about it. But I think the most important one that we need to come out with now is this 3-hour cryptocurrency CE course. I think it's so important. Now, the 1-hour course that I gave, or the 1-hour presentation I gave at OCAP, it'll be very similar to a 1-hour presentation I give in Virginia next year. That is sort of like an overview of what we're going to discuss. But I get really down deep into it, into a 3-hour course, and I think it's going to be very important for appraisers going forward. Yeah, Kevin.
So basically what you're saying here, Phil, is
this
is all cutting edge, but don't worry because you, Lori, and I will keep everybody
covered. We got it covered. And we're going to explain it in a way, because I bring the Tinker Toys out. I bring all the Tinker Toys out, but we're going to explain in a way that you're going to be able to understand. Remember, at Appraiser Fest 2018, we started with our blockchain technology. We started with that presentation. I called myself the very first token master appraiser throughout the country. Well, there's been a lot of appraisers that have been in contact with me now that Libra's in position, now that Bitcoin is jumping again, now that tokenization is starting to take place. They're going to want to be token masters as well. They can see how the token master concept is going to work for real estate appraisers and how that could actually become a very, very lucrative way of doing business. Because the one thing you have to understand when it comes to token masters and when it comes to working on that level is you're not working with the bank. There is no bank work there. So you are needed on a level that is pretty amazing, and that is the exact type of client that you want to have as a real estate appraiser, someone that's relying on you to sound an investment, to say that this thing is going to be working in this direction. It's absolutely amazing, and we are so cutting edge on it. So we will be having that 3-hour appraiser and blockchain course coming up very soon. It'll be an online platform, and Lori and I will have it written as soon as we possibly can. We'll get it approved in as many states as we possibly can. Lori, as you know from Appraiser Fest, is very good at getting these CE courses approved, and there could be a possibility I'll be speaking at some regulatory events coming up as well when it comes to blockchain and how that does work in the real estate business. It's just not the title companies. It's going to have a direct impact on real estate appraisers, and I do see a lot of opportunity to make money in that space. So also, a couple other things that happened. That happened in OCAP. I was there for a day. I wanted to fly to D.C. the next day, but I couldn't because I had other obligations. So remember, that the next day was the congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. on the state of appraisals and things like that, appraiser modernization. That was a very, very difficult hearing. I think a lot of the questions that were asked from the panel, I firmly believe were unfair. I don't think that some of these questions should have been asked to the panel. I think it went in kind of a direction that they didn't think it was going to go. And thanks to Maureen Sweeney and thanks to Ryan Lindquist out there, who put out some phenomenal blogs deconstructing what some of the assumptions were during that particular hearing in Washington, D.C. I did run into Ernie Durbin. Now, just to let you know, Ernie and I are friends. I get along with Ernie just fine. He's a very nice guy. We get along just fine. There's a picture of us out there right now with the great big no sausage sign and things like that. Ernie is on one side of the fence when it comes to business models. I'm on the other side of the fence, and we also agree on some things in the middle as well. So Ernie's a nice guy. I don't want anybody out there to think that there's this gigantic animosity between Ernie and I. Ernie just gave me a wonderful, wonderful soundbite when it comes to his sausage comment, and I think he gave it again at OCAP. He keeps on bringing up Jimmy Dean. I just love it. It's wonderful. You put that in front of radio, sells all day long. But anyways, I saw Ernie there, and I knew that he was going to go to the congressional hearing in D.C. I also knew that Pat Turner from the great Commonwealth of Virginia was going, and I knew that Joe Meir was going. Now, special thanks to Pat and Joe for showing up, because Pat actually met with Maxine Waters on the floor of the House of Representatives, saying that in the future there has to be real estate appraisers on these panels. So Pat was there speaking truth to power. Joe was there as well, backing them up. And then Ernie was there. Now, Ernie was sitting behind Joan. So Joan Trice was asked at the last moment to come in and to give a presentation and to be a panelist as well. Jonathan Miller was not on the panel. Now, all of you remember that we put a call to action out to get Jonathan on that panel. That did not happen, but hold tight for just a minute, because some other good things did happen because of that email response. So you got Ernie there. You got Pat in the back. If you take a look at the representative from the AMCs, from REVA, what's that guy's name? Is it Dickstein? Is that his name? Dickstein. He's there. The guy behind him, the burly guy, the guy that looks like he's burly, big old beard. He looks like he's like a hockey coach. That guy right there, that's Mark Schiffman. So Mark Schiffman is with REVA. Then you've got Dave Bunton, and behind Dave Bunton, there's a lady sitting there. That's Kelly Davids. Okay, so for those of people that don't understand who people are and how this all works together, it's a very small circle of people. So I just want everybody to know who the players are. Behind Joan sits Ernie Durbin. Now, I did send him a text that morning saying that if you're sitting behind Joan, make sure that the camera picks up you picking up a piece of paper and giving it to Joan. It makes you look good. It makes you look really official that he's behind there feeding information to Joan Trice. And what amazed me is when we were in Columbus together, I called Joan out on stage because Ernie was sitting in the front row. He was listening to my blockchain presentation, and he won't steal any of it. Don't steal my crap, Ernie. Don't steal my crap. So what happened was I called Joan out, and I said, look, if she's going to be on the panel, she needs to represent appraisers. She needs to represent them very well. Ernie said to me, quote, unquote, you will like her statement. And guess what? I do. I like her statement. I have it right here. This is Joan Trice's statement that she was going to make before the subcommittee on housing Community Development and Insurance. And this was designed to be delivered on June 20th, 2019. And it's a great read. It's an awesome read. She brings up some wonderful points. She also brings up some awesome quotes. For instance, she says, a home without equity is a rental with a mortgage. That's all it is. A home without equity is a rental with a mortgage. Her opening statements are wonderful. The only problem is she didn't read them. Kevin, she didn't read them. So it gets to her, and then she says, I'm going to go a little bit off book or whatever the hell she said. She doesn't read the statements that need to be read in front of Congress. Now, yes, I understand that this is part of the record. I understand that this is all part of it, and Jonathan Miller did respond and was asked to give a letter that should be put onto the official record as well of this particular hearing. But because the hearing went in a totally different direction, at least this statement should have been said. What the heck was that all about? Ernie was right. The message was correct. Joan Trice gets up there, has the opportunity to stand up for appraisers throughout the country. She goes off book and starts going off on something. And quite frankly, I can't remember a damn thing that she said.
She folded.
She folded. Why in heaven's name would you fold? If you are going to be talking about leadership and leadership in a profession, why in heaven's name do you fold? I've never seen it before, Kevin. I have seen congressional testimony happen on several different occasions, okay? Not just on the appraiser side as well. You always read your opening statement. You submit it and you read it. You're given what, like 5 minutes? Is that what it is?
Correct.
Something like that? I've never seen somebody go off book before. I'm not beating her up, but enough's enough. That's Bush League. That is absolute Bush League. And then, of course, what it makes me think is that there's something conspiratorial going on. Because who's telling Joan not to read what she's written, which is, I think, very pro-appraiser? Who's saying that? What's the forces behind it? It just makes me start to think a little bit. Remember, that room is a small circle. You may think it's big, but it's not. It's a very, very small circle. And I just have to wonder aloud what the heck happened there. So I was extremely disappointed with her not being able to read that. You know, I'm sorry. Next time, put Ernie up there. I wished Ernie would have picked her up out of the chair maybe and said, Joan, get the hell out of the way. I'll read the damn statement. You know, I'll take care of it, for crying out loud. Absolutely unbelievable. So it did go in a different path. It went on the path of the possibilities of racism and discrimination taking place in the appraisal profession. And what I kind of gained from the overview of what I saw from the gentleman from the Brookings Institute is that people inherently have the ability to, quote unquote, be discriminatory and be racist, but data does not. Data does not. So I think I took that from that overall analysis there. But thank goodness that we have Maureen Sweeney. Jonathan Miller put it out in his housing notes as she undoes the misrepresentation of appraisals that took place at the House panel. Also, Ryan Lindquist on his Sacramento appraisal blog put out a phenomenal blog about it as well. So it kind of went in a different direction, that is definitely for sure. And I didn't like that. I didn't like when, I think it was Representative Green made everybody hold their hands up and things like that. I just don't, that wasn't I don't think that was very fair. I really don't. So I don't think they really knew what was coming in that direction. But thank you very much for Pat Turner, for Joe Meir, for Ernie, for being up there and taking a stand for real estate appraisers across the country. Joan, next time, that's it. I'm sorry, that's it. You blew it. That was the last shot. I honestly thought something good was going to happen there. And
next time we got to get Jonathan Miller.
Jonathan Miller. So here's what happened. So we put the call to action out. Thank you for the segue, Kevin, because I was going to get in more trouble beating her up a little bit. So we put the call to action out to get Jonathan on this particular panel. Now, we bombarded Washington, D.C. with emails. And at first, it was not looked at as a positive thing, but then it turned into a positive thing because guess what? We made some good connections. Again, a small circle was broken, and we started to introduce Jonathan into that circle. So that's all on you. All of you did that. Thank you very much for all of the respectful letters of support for Jonathan that went up to D.C. after the call to action because it made a major, major impact, okay? Because of that, Jonathan was invited to speak at the National Association of Realtors Valuation Summit, which took place just a couple weeks ago. So a lot of things were going on in Washington, D.C. in June. The NAR Valuation Summit was taking place. Also, the Appraisal Foundation IAC TAFACT joint meeting was taking place the next day after the NAR Valuation Summit, and that's only the second time that's happened. That's the second year out. So Jonathan was at NAR speaking about the appraisal profession. We now have witnessed and now realized that the big push in appraisal modernization is just not bifurcation. Matter of fact, bifurcation is a small tip of the iceberg. The big base of what we're looking at when it comes to modernization is the AVM. The AVM, Kevin.
I'm sorry, Phil. I have to interrupt here just real quick.
Yes.
Every time I hear you say bifurcation,
I know. You're thinking.
I think it's something done in a corner.
Your mind goes in totally different directions. Well, it gets even more disgusting, Kevin, because guess what? They're actively talking about AVMs, the ability of AVMs, the potential of AVMs. All of these things are being discussed widely at the National Association of Realtors Valuation Summit. And thank God that Jonathan was there at this particular summit speaking truth to power about the concerns that we have with the AVM technology. And there was a lot of concerns there. He put it out in his housing notes. He put out some charts that came in from the National Association of Realtors. For instance, one of the charts read, when would you want to have an AVM done on transactions if the value was like less than $100,000 or something like that? A great majority of people say, no, I don't want an AVM done, or I'm not sure. See, that's the whole thing. They're lacking the data. They're lacking the knowledge of what goes into these AVMs and how they work. So if a great majority of the respondents say, I'm not sure, or no, that means probably it's not a good idea to start using AVMs as part of the whole appraisal modernization process, okay? So AVMs are being pushed heavily throughout Washington, D.C., and heavily through the National Association of Realtors. Also, speaking of the NAR, just so you know, the NAR did invest in a blockchain startup called Propy, P-R-O-P-Y, Propy. You guys need to understand the blockchain world. We'll have 3 hours of CE available for you on it. The NAR's into it too, guys. This is serious stuff. Yeah.
For a minute there, you scared me. I thought you were going to say the NAR decided to start their own cryptocurrency.
The NAR with the Realtor coin. Realtor coin. Now that would be Realtor coin would be pretty cool, actually, if they actually started something like that. But no, it is pretty amazing. So Jonathan was there. He was able to meet with all of the movers and shakers and policymakers inside of the GSCs, inside of government, the Veterans Administration, all of these things. And it made a really, really big difference. And now we're starting to see his influence start to grow throughout those areas. And that's exactly what we want. And you put him there. You put him there, and we thank you very much for it. Now, we get Jonathan in that position. We get the great Pat Turner and VACAP, what they're doing down there. Pat's doing a wonderful job. Joe Mears doing a wonderful job. Pete Gallo is doing a wonderful job. Lori Noble went up to the Appraisal Foundation IAC TAFAC meeting. She was there representing FindMyAppraiser.com, which is a gigantic marketing. Which, by the way, we've got new stuff coming out with HR 299. I will talk about that on the next show. We got a movement. We got a movement. We've got a united movement, and the right players are being put in the right positions. What I just found out a couple days ago, and I can't verify it quite yet, what I found out is that the GSEs are now opening their eyes to the concept that an appraiser, if they're going to do bifurcated, if they're going to do that 1004P form, that's the pilot form, okay? If they're going to do a 1004P, the other person on the other side of the bifurcation, which is the person that's going to go inside that house, that needs to be an appraiser, or that needs to be an appraiser's assistant. Someone who is directly connected with that real estate appraiser. Bottom line, that's the way it is. I've always said that. Drive by, that's one thing, but you get into a situation where going inside of someone's home, when you're collecting that data, that is where that issue is going to come into place, because data pollution is going to be a big problem. Jonathan did bring up the corruption or the possible corruption of the data set. So in other words, if you've got a situation where you have a property inspection waiver or a appraisal waiver given on one home, that home becomes a comp in that neighborhood. Once that home becomes a comp, then other AVMs, other algorithms will use that comp, and then all of a sudden the data then starts to corrupt itself. It's like a snake eating its own tail. It just starts to destroy itself over time. These are issues that were brought up by Jonathan. I don't think they're brought up by anybody else, because other people, guess what? They're fintech. They want AVMs. Interesting article. Speaking of fintech, just so you guys know, this is all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, especially throughout June. Listen to this right here. I don't know if you heard it or not, but I can't find it. Where's the article, Kevin? Where's the article? Do you have it?
Here it is. I found it.
Oh, here it is. This is the Gaffney article. And remember, this is a fintech situation. AVMs, what they are is they're fintech. Fintech, financial technology. Listen to this right here. Former Housing Wire editor-in-chief Jacob Gaffney partners with former CoreLogic executive to launch a media and PR firm. It's a media and public relations campaign, a firm. I told you guys we need PR. We need media. He joins Allison Austin to form Gaffney Austin, which is basically going to be a PR firm. Austin spent more than 9 years at CoreLogic. Gaffney, as you know, was with Housing Wire. It says here that the pair will now utilize their experience to offer media public relations services to clients in the real estate, mortgage, and fintech spaces. Fintech. That's your AVM. And you're going to have marketing and PR firms and messaging to say, look, this may not be the best way to go. We need to have that out there. Jonathan being in the position that he is in now, findmyappraiser.com being out there pushing this agenda. We're now going to be on a new podcast. The podcast is called This Is Uncomfortable. It's a total millennial show. It's about millennial money. We've just made that deal last week, so we're going to be sponsoring that show. This is Uncomfortable. And we're talking to Joe, right? Best Ever Real Estate Advice Show?
Yes.
Best Ever Real Estate Advice Show. Joe's a wonderful guy. We'll get on him right away, too. Everybody out there needs to understand that you've got AVMs, you've got all of this technology, you've got all these algorithms, you've got all this stuff, but before you buy that home, before you make that investment, before you think you're going to make millions of dollars on that flip, before you sign those divorce papers or before you file for the divorce, you call a real estate appraiser. Get the appraiser's eyes on that property. That's the message that needs to be out, because fintech and the billions upon billions of dollars that are backing it up, this is what they're selling to the NAR. This is what they're selling to lawmakers, movers and shakers in Washington, D.C., and we need to have the right voices in the right place at the right time to say, guys, this could go in a bad path really, really quick. The last time they did this, they almost brought down the whole damn country. You have to understand that. 2008 was not a financial crisis. It was almost the end of America. It was the end of American capitalism because it turned into something else after 2008, especially with the bailouts. It ended American capitalism as far as I'm concerned. Now you're looking at fintech going into the valuation space at a pace that is very unnatural, that is very unhealthy, and it could manipulate markets throughout all of the country. The concept of a true value is going to come into place. And I got to watch what I say when I say it, Kevin, because I don't want the hardware store coming after me again. But right. but it is true. The concept of a true value is coming into place. Now, as real estate appraisers, we need to be prepared for that. I do not like what is going on in this market today. The new Crawford report basically is talking about the reverse engines, engaging the reverse engines on rate hikes from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is becoming more dovish. Why do you think Bitcoin is acting like gold? It's going up. Why do you think gold is going up? Because they could be doing QE forever. So you're starting to see a reverse engines when it comes to the Fed. If it goes in this direction, folks, I don't like what's going on. So inside of your appraisal reports, you need to have some new disclosures. I'm going to start putting in some addendums and disclosures that I usually put into my commercial reports. I'm going to start putting them in more and more to the residential reports as well, to the ERC reports that we do, to the residential reports that we do. We have to be able to communicate and report the snapshot in time that these appraisals are. Because right now, how the world in D.C., as the way I see it, the world in D.C. for the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years, they have heard several different things. We can do it faster. We can do it cheaper, number one. And number two, there's a huge appraiser shortage. Did you see that during that hearing? Lukemeyer's in a rural area.
Right.
A lot of these guys that are in rural areas, the first thing they say is I live in a rural area. I don't have enough appraisers. I just want to say to those lawmakers, listen, where are you? What counties do you need coverage in? And I will hire somebody through my company to expand into that state. We need that. We need appraisers out there that are forward thinking and are going to go, I will expand into that state and give you an appraiser there, one that's competent, one that understands what's going on. I'll train somebody there. But the problem, Kevin, is that we don't have that right now because the individual firms throughout the country have been hammered down from parasitical AMC firms, and the AMCs are trying to go into those areas, but no one wants to work for them because they're not willing to work for half the market rate. That's the big issue.
Newsflash for everybody in Washington, D.C. You just heard it here.
Yes.
There is no shortage.
There's no shortage. And if you're in a rural area and you don't have enough appraisers, then you make sure there's a customary and reasonable fee paid in that area, and there will be people out there that will expand their businesses. They'll expand them. Trainees are up. People are getting into this thing. They understand that the new generation, those of you that are baby boomers, maybe you got that new cousin or that nephew or that son or that daughter that wants to get into this business. Well, we got to make sure it's there for them. So you see what's going on. FinTech, hammering down. Guys, from this point on, it is a game of messaging, and we've got history and we've got right and truth on our side. These algorithmic AVMs, they're not going to work. They went this direction in 2007. They caused havoc. They caused destruction, tumult, despair. They almost caused the entire destruction of the country. We have to have that messaging in Washington, D.C. And because of all of you, because of all of your actions in the month of June, and because of Jonathan going to NAR, because of Lori Noble heading on up to TAFAC, because of Pat Turner and Joe Meir, and even Ernie.
You forgot the most important person, Phil.
Yes.
You.
Nah.
You started everything.
Well, so you started. So what? So what? Because of all of you, change is taking place. Because of all of you. You should be very proud of what happened in June. We're not stopping. We're moving forward on it. We're continuing to drive these messages so we can maintain our profession and we can protect the public and we can make sure that this country stands financially sound. The next show that we do, we're going to talk about these AVMs. We're going to talk about what's being sold to lawmakers. And I've got this awesome blog. There's this guy in New York. He's like a mathematician. He breaks down everything. I'll tell you something, folks. This thing's got me nervous. If the Federal Reserve is going to go to a dovish position, these houses out there, these prices may not be sustainable. And if they're not, something bad could happen. And you have to make sure that you protect yourself when you're writing up the reports and when you're reporting the market data. It's going to be a fun time. So you guys keep it up. Keep up their support. Keep doing what you're doing. FMA Appraisers, findmyappraiser.com. If you want to know everything that happened during the events of this last week, go to the findmyappraiser.com Facebook page, the forward-facing book page. Lori's got a good synopsis of what took place, and we will be able to get that 3-hour CE course to all of you as soon as possible. And like I said, we'll make sure we get it approved in as many states as we can. It is cutting edge, and you need to know what is going on. Tomorrow, let's do another show this week, Kevin. You want to do another show?
We haven't done them in a while.
We've been gone for a while. Let's go and do another one. Let's break down these AVMs. I'm going to break down some of the information that was given out at the NAR conference, and let's break down these AVMs, and let's talk about what could happen if they start to become commonplace more and more. Also, I'm going to break down HR 299. HR 299, tricky situation for veterans. That one's got me concerned. I know there's some people out there that don't like it, and it's a good way to market ourselves to veterans because that one's going to get a little bit weird too, okay? So, folks, it's good to be back. Thank you very much for all of your support. If you guys need anything, give us an email at info@voiceofappraisal.com, info@voiceofappraisal.com. You can also go to info@findmyappraiser.com with any questions over on that side, and we'll be happy to help you out. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show for this week, and as always, I would like to thank you for listening. As we journey through the mysteries and complexities that are, in fact, the real estate appraisal business, I would like to thank my producer, Kevin Kinney, for being here for his thoughtful insight and knowledge. God willing, we're going to be back here very soon, continuing to report from the front lines of the real estate market. In the meantime, you kiss your spouse, you hug your children, enjoy your day, be safe in the field. You've been listening to Phil Crawford on Voice of Appraisal. We'll talk very soon.